Hello everyone, welcome to another video and welcome to another GT Sport Daily Race C Strategy Guide. And this week, week number 7, we are heading to Monza with the chicanes and we are in Group 3 machinery. So let's take a look at the detailed settings for this one. We have 10 laps to get round, fuel consumption at times 2, tyre wear quite high at times 10, and we have both the medium and the racing hard tyres available. So as always in those circumstances, we will assume those hard tyres are at the very least mandatory, if not both tyres. But first, before we go on to some race footage, let's just take a flyover of the circuit as is customary at the moment. We've just gone through the first chicane there. That's going to be the scene of many an accident, many an exasperation and frustration, with the penalty system being as fragile as it is. Through the two Lesbos, onto the back straight, down towards the extremely fast chicane of Ascari. That's going to take us on to another long straight and towards the world famous Parabolica, which takes us onto the start finish straight and completes a lap of Monza. So we'll jump onto the car now, and Monza, if you're familiar with your racetracks, you will be very well aware. Long straights, slow chicanes. What you really need is a car that is very quick down the straights and is very stable over the curbs. And the car I've chosen to do the test runs in is probably not a car that's going to be used very often during the course of the week, but I think it may be a little bit of a dark horse, and that is the Aston Martin DBR9 GT1. Now this is not the best handling car by any means, but it is pretty good down the straights and it is extremely stable over the curbs. So I think it is capable of producing a pretty competitive lap time around this track, and I think it may well be a car that I'm going to use initially just to see how it fares up against the competition. But yeah, that's what you're looking for a lap around Monza. You need good top speed and you need stability for going over the curbs of the turns 1 and 2 chicane, and also the second chicane. I think it's called the Variante Alta. I could well be wrong on that. So Monza in Group 3 machinery, I think a lot of people will look at that combination and their initial reaction is going to be, oh no. And for good reason. Monza, very much known for being pretty full of carnage. Obviously you've got high top speeds, big braking zones, tight chicanes, lots of slipstream. Tends to lead to a lot of contact as drivers misjudge things like the slipstream into turn number 1. And with the penalty system being as fragile as it is at the moment, I can see a lot of frustration and exasperation coming in videos over the course of this week. With any luck, PD may well turn down the penalty system and its sensitivity. They can do that server side for this race, because I think it will certainly benefit the race if the penalty system is just a little bit less sensitive, is probably the best word for it. But we're not here really to talk about the race, we are here to talk about strategy, so let's move on to the strategies. And first up, we've got the one-stop strategy. We're just going to start on the medium tyres, run those medium tyres until we think we're going to be quicker on the hard tyres, and then we shall make a pit stop. So the question is, how long are those medium tyres going to last if you start on them? Well, we have transitioned here to lap number 7. Lap times have been fairly steady through to lap number 6. But to be honest with you, I think we've left it a lap too long here. We probably should have pitted at the end of lap number 6. Going on to this 7th lap, the car is now starting to really become a bit of a handful. We've got the brake balance set at +3 on this one. I prefer to have better front tyres than rear tyres. But the rear tyres have started to suffer over the course of this stint. The left rear in particular seems to be doing the most work. Kind of makes sense. Most of the turns at Monza are right hand turns, puts all the load on the left hand side. So the left hand tyres tend to wear a little bit more than the right hand side. But we are going to pit at the end of this lap. We'll get a look at the pit loss and the fuel. But before we do that, let's just zoom in on those tyres. Just take a close look at them. So there you go, there's the tyre wear at the end of lap number 7. It's coming in maybe around about 5% per lap on that left rear. And as I said, I do think we probably left it a lap too long to pit. But we're now in the pits here at the end of lap number 7. We'll get all the numbers for the pit stop here. Stationary for 4.5. Pit time comes in at 11.2. And that amounts to a 7.3 second pit loss. Now do be careful coming out the pits on fresh tyres. You want to be braking at about 120 metres. You can see we're going to go a little bit deep here into turn number 1. So about 120 to 130 metres Might seem a bit longer than you would think, but the tyres are very cold and it's very easy to overshoot that chicane and sort of lose maybe any benefit of an undercut you're trying to do. Then quickly we'll just touch on fuel. Got it up on the screen there. Fuel was no issue, very rarely is in a daily race C at the moment. So we've got the hard tyres on. Let's transition to lap number 10. We're only doing 3 laps on the hard tyres. You can see the lap time there on lap number 9, a 1:48.2. So it looks like the hard tyres are actually a little bit quicker than the mediums once you get to the end of the race. Obviously with the fuel being burned down, that would be expected. But it looks around about lap 6, lap 7 maybe a little bit too late. So it looks like that window maybe for the pit stop on going from the mediums to the hards is round about lap 5 to 7. So out of Parabolica for the 10th time here. This is going to be the end of the one-stop strategy. You'll get a time up on the screen, and that's going to give us a benchmark as we move on to look at some other strategies. So that time should just be about to pop up on the screen. There we go, 18 minutes 17.235 for the one-stop strategy, and that's going to be the time that we're going to have to keep in mind as we'll move on to the two-stop strategy and even the no-stop strategy later on in the video. So the two-stop strategy here, we're just going to do 2 stints of on the medium tyres. First stint, just the 4 laps, do the shorter stint with the full fuel load. Join us here at the end of our second stint on the mediums. We've done the 5 laps here. We can get an idea of how much of a benefit the fresh mediums are compared to the first stint there. It looks around about maybe half a second gained in time. Not as much as you might expect, but you've not burnt a huge amount of fuel off by the time you get onto that fresh stint of mediums. In here for our second pit stop to take on that hard tyre, which we're pretty certain is going to be mandatory. Again, at this point we don't know whether it's both the hard tyres and the medium tyres that are mandatory or just the hard tyres. Hopefully, from what I've found in this one, it will be the hard tyre that's just mandatory, just to open up those strategy options. Again, I said it earlier on in the video, be careful coming out of the pits, breaking into turn number 1. Give yourself plenty of room, around about 120 to 130 metres, just to make sure you make that apex. There's no point going into the pits and trying to get a better set of tyres on and then overshooting turn number 1. You will lose an awful lot of time doing that. So we've now got the hard tyres on. We're going to fast forward here towards the end of the lap. We do pick up a half-second penalty coming through the second chicane here, which did seem a bit harsh, and that is actually going to add 1 second onto our finishing time, so we will compensate for that when the numbers come up. But out of Parabolica we come here. You can already, if you're looking at the timer down in the bottom left hand corner, you can see we're already considerably slower here than the one-stop strategy. Even with the 1 second added on, or even with the 1 second taken off that gets added on at the end, we're still considerably slower than the one-stop. But you might think that's the end of the story. Well, maybe not. Now, of course, this strategy that we're going to take a look at here is only possible if the tyre stipulation allows it. So as I've said before in the video, we don't know what the tyre stipulation will be at this moment. Seems to be very common case that they make both tyres mandatory to force you into a pit stop, but on occasion they just make the harder compound the only one that's mandatory. Now if it happens to be the case of just the hards being mandatory, then that does open up some scope for the no-stop strategy. So we did our due diligence, as we like to do in these videos, and we headed out on the hard tyres and did a no-stop run. And we're on to lap number 10 now. Now you can see the lap times are remaining very, very stable on the hard tyres and not a massive amount slower than the medium tyres once the medium tyres have done a few laps. So we're very steadily keeping it in the sort of mid 148s all the way through up until lap number 8. Now we did do a very poor lap on lap number 3 there, which is a 149.4. So we've lost at least 8 tenths on this strategy at that point. The Lexus gets out of the way nicely there. Thankfully the traffic never proved to be too much of a problem for me in this one, just catching them towards the very, very end of the race. But it does look like the no-stop strategy, if it's allowed, if it's actually possible, is going to be quite competitive, looking at the lap times at this point anyway. The lap times are starting to decrease just there on lap number 9. We went half a second slower than our previous lap. It's to be expected. Those tyres that have now done, technically they're on about their 95th lap at the moment, so you would expect them to be a little bit slower, but as the fuel burns out the lap times do stay fairly stable on the no-stop strategy. Coming up to another lap car here, thankfully it's not going to pose too much of a problem. Now look at that time in at the bottom left hand corner. Now it's 18 minutes 17 for the one-stop strategy, finishing with a 1:49.1 there, just to sort of again show that the tyres stay stable all the way through. But look at the finishing time, 18 minutes 13.9. We're actually over nearly 3 seconds quicker than the one-stop strategy. So as ever, at this point in the video, let's put up all the data and information that we've learned over the course of the video and put it all in the one place and discuss each of the strategies. The first up, we'll talk about the two-stop strategy. I think we can pretty much dismiss this one as being a strategy that you want to be using. There may be the very rare circumstance where you're just so much embroiled in battle and fighting with other traffic that you might try something a little bit different, but it's definitely coming in the slower of the 3 strategies that we have tested, and I can't see this one being used very often. Next up, we'll talk about the one-stop strategy. This is likely to be the strategy that most people will use, because I suspect it will be both the medium and the hard tyres that are mandatory. This is quicker than the two-stop strategy by the region of about 4 seconds. The sort of pit window is fairly wide, I think. I think you could sort of, maybe if you start on the mediums, pit as early as lap 5, and if you're pretty good on tyre, leave it as late as lap 7. So there is kind of scope to kind of try and mix that up a little bit. Starting the opposite way, if you were to start on the hard tyres, I'd be looking to be doing no more than 4 laps, maybe even 3 laps before moving on to the faster tyre for the second part of the race. And the joker in the pack is the no-stop strategy. Now, it is the joker in the pack because I'm obviously not sure whether it's going to be possible at this point, but if it is possible, then it is coming in as the quickest of the 3 strategies tested by the region of about 3 seconds, which makes it very worthwhile giving a try. Now, it may not be for everyone, even if it is possible. I'm pretty good on tyre wear, and so was able to keep those tyres alive for the duration of the race. Now, it will be interesting once this race goes live tomorrow to see what those settings are with the tyres and whether that no-stop strategy is actually going to be possible. But all in all, I think we've got an interesting race in hands here. Even if it is just the one-stop strategy that's possible, I think there's varying ways of doing that to sort of keep things interesting. You have a pit window, not necessarily have everybody pitting on the same lap, which is always nice to see. Always kind of help to sort of vary things up and kind of gives you options if you're maybe stuck in some traffic. So personally, I am quite looking forward to this one myself, despite its fearsome reputation as a race. Monza, even with the sort of carnage and all that, always provides some entertainment, always provides some interest, and hopefully we'll not be talking about the penalty system and the carnage come the end of the week. We'll be talking about some good racing. Let's finish the video off though, as always, with a little bit of a lap guide. We're in the Aston Martin DBR9 GT1. We've got the brake balance at +3, and we're heading down towards turn 1 and 2, tight chicane. Now this car's pretty good in the straights. You will be braking just before that 150 metre board, getting the car slowed down into second gear, taking lots and lots of curb, just sort of rolling the car through the first chicane, get the car nice and straight and on the throttle as early as you can through Curva Grande. Obviously, better you can sort of exit turn 1, you're going to carry that speed all the way down this curved straight. Now as we approach the second chicane, I think it is Variante Alte, I haven't looked it up before I last said it. There's a path just to the right hand side. You will be braking just before that, taking as much curb as you dare, but being careful obviously to not pick up a half-a-second penalty. And then into the first of the Lesmo, just after the 50 metre board there. Try and catch the curb on the inside, it will help the car rotate, but be careful of the barrier as well. Again, it's the 50 metre board into the Lesmo 2, catch the curb, should help the car rotate. It is easy to understeer wide into the sand there. If you feel you are, do come off the throttle. If you keep your foot in, it will spew you out and or chew you in and spit you out. Now we come towards a scary chicane. There is a path again just to the right hand side there. That's your reference point, maybe just before that. Taking lots of curb on the inside. If you try and over slow into the first part of a scary so you can get on the throttle nice and early and hopefully carry that full acceleration all the way through the second part of a scary. And now down towards Parabolic we come. The 100 metre board is going to be your reference. Dropping it a couple of gears. Try to keep it tight, try and catch that apex fairly early, let the sort of curb bring the car around a little bit, then get on the throttle as soon as you think the car is going to stick. Using all the track on the exit. And that is a lap of Monza in the Aston Martin DBR9 GT1. So hopefully this video has proven useful, quite a lot of information there to take in, so hopefully it can help you get started before this race goes live. All that's left to say is thank you very much for watching. Please do hit that like button, please do hit that subscribe button if you like what I'm doing off the channel. Maybe I'll see you on track. Do say hello in the post-race lobby. Do join me for a live stream if you maybe get a chance. It should be good fun. And with that, thank you very much for watching, and I shall see you on the next one. Goodbye now.